We recently released an epic video on the best 14-inch laptops that you can buy. In typical fashion, Lenovo released their first 14-inch gaming laptop, the Legion Slim 514, around the same time. After hearing all the hype about this laptop, we had to get one in and see for ourselves. I mean, come on, it's got one of the best AMD processors around, powerful NVIDIA graphics, a beautiful OLED display, and it's well priced. Now, going into this review, there are two key questions I want to answer. 1. Is this laptop now a better choice than the Asus G14, which is priced around the same point and thus far has been our pick for the best 14-inch gaming laptop? And 2. For people looking for a solid, high-performance one for tasks like software development, content creation, who want portability, is this now the laptop you should be buying? Does it make more expensive laptops like Lenovo's own Slim Pro 9i or the MacBook Pro 14 no longer relevant? My unit comes with a Zen 4 7840HS processor, 16GB of memory, and 1TB of storage. Let's take a look at Cinebench, which tests how the laptop performs under max load. You can see its single-core performance is a little behind Intel, but its multi-core performance is very good. This is for the most part a common story with AMD Zen 4 versus Intel 13th Gen. Something to draw your attention to is that this laptop slightly outperforms the G14 in multi-core, even though that laptop has a supposed faster CPU. Let's dig a little deeper and I'm going to show you why. When we look at how the laptop performs during a long-running torture test, you can see that performance doesn't drop that much, indicating that the cooling solution is up to the task. This laptop now pulls further ahead than the G14. Compare this result to the MSI Stealth 14 Studio with its Intel processor. That laptop is insanely fast in short burst tasks. But in long-running performance tasks, the laptop must reduce its performance so that it stays cool. Look, the performance of modern processors is heavily dependent on how much power manufacturers choose to feed them with, as well as how much heat their cooling solutions can dissipate. As you can see, Lenovo is feeding this laptop more power than Asus is feeding their G14, on average 25 watts more. But as you saw, the Lenovo doesn't beat the Asus by a similar ratio. That's because there are diminishing marginal returns of feeding these processors additional power. You can see, when looking at a performance per watt graph, Asus are really hitting the sweet spot in terms of how much power they are feeding the G14. And a benefit of what Asus is doing is that their processor runs cooler. By the way, if you run the Legion in its default balance mode, a similar phenomenon will occur, where you get more performance per watt. FYI, the G14 does have a turbo mode. That will provide a little more performance for a lot more power and it is less efficient. But we did not include it because it is insanely loud and we don't think 99.9% of people will use it. So, moral of the story, Legion is a little faster in multi-core, G14 is more efficient. When it comes to graphics, the performance of an RTX 4060, which is what this laptop has, is heavily dependent on how much power is fed to it. My G14, Blade 14, Stealth 14, and Alienware X14 all have the same graphics, but they're feeding them very different amounts of power. What's great about this laptop is that the 105 watt it feeds its graphics is around the sweet spot, above which we notice massive diminishing marginal returns. For example, the Blade 14 feeds theirs 140 watts, but there are just no real performance gains to be had by doing this. On the flip side, the Alienware feeds its 4060 less, too little power, and its performance is a lot worse. It's interesting, the G14 is the more efficient one when it comes to CPU performance, but the Legion is more efficient when it comes to GPU. Now, when we switch to our Cyberpunk benchmark test, this laptop significantly outperformed the competition, beating all other laptops in our test, with the exception of the ZenBook Pro 14, which has an RTX 4070. This is a fantastic result for the Legion. Please keep in mind though that several of these laptops are available with more powerful graphics. The G14, for example, can be had with up to an RTX 4090, and the Blade with a 4070. I would expect that those laptops with their higher configurations to beat this one. Alright, let's talk about heat and fan noise. When the processor is maxed out, the keyboard deck of this laptop is actually pretty comfortable to use. It only feels a little warm and it isn't overly distracting. The underside though does get extremely hot, so if you are doing high performance tasks on this laptop, make sure you have it on a desk. When gaming, this laptop is noticeably cooler to the touch than all competing laptops. Comfortable temperatures of the keyboard deck and palm rest, even while doing high performance tasks, are definitely a standout about this laptop. Now, fan noise for high-performance CPU tasks, it does get loud. That's on performance mode. The balance mode is a tad more reasonable here and you only lose a little performance. So I would consider running it on that mode, even if you're doing work that requires performance. When gaming, it's a similar story. I would personally take the trade-off of a quieter laptop for an 11% drop in gaming performance. In light use like browsing the web, working on office documents, that sort of thing, this is the story. In balance mode, this laptop only gets slightly warm to the touch. However, you will hear some low fan noise in a quiet room. It's not overly disturbing or high-pitched like the Alienware X14, but it is there. If you run the laptop in quiet mode though, all fan noise goes away, but it gets warmer to the touch. I found my palms got sweaty while using it in that mode. By the way, heat you feel is one of the main differences between this laptop and the Asus G14. The G14 feels significantly warmer in all use cases. On battery, the laptop performs pretty well, and it doesn't drop its performance that much. In fact, it was our best performer in this test. By the way, when on battery, the display refresh rate is switched from 120Hz to 60 to conserve power, which I do like. To test battery life, we ran Cinebench on a loop for 30 minutes. At the end of the test, this laptop had only 39% remaining. So for high performance tasks, this laptop significantly underperforms the competition, and you will barely get an hour out of it. But let's call a spade a spade. None of these laptops, other than the MacBook Pro 14, are ideal for doing high-performance tasks when on battery. For a more realistic battery test, we ran a Netflix video on repeat over Wi-Fi for 4 hours with the screen dimmed to 200 nits. In this use case, this laptop did well with 44% remaining, so expect around 7 hours or more. Let's switch gears to talk about the rest of the laptop. The laptop's build quality is decent enough. The lid is reasonably strong, but the keyboard deck has a bit of flex to it. However, the laptop just doesn't feel premium, especially when you rest your palms on the palm rest. The Legion Slim 7, which is Lenovo's more expensive gaming range, looks and feels noticeably better. The Legion Slim 5 feels a bit like a plastic toy compared to that laptop. When it comes to portability, this laptop's weight and total carry weight, including the charger, is around the same as its competitors, meaning it's on the heavier end for a portable laptop. However, it doesn't feel completely like a heavy brick, which the Blade 14 does. It is noticeably larger than the other 14-inch laptops though, on all dimensions, and you certainly won't be fitting this laptop into a 14-inch laptop sleeve. Keep in mind though, this laptop does have a larger display at 14.5 inches, so that accounts for some of this laptop size, but it is still bigger than the Slim Pro 9i, which also has a 14.5-inch display. Now, talking about that display, it is a stunning OLED panel. Content just looks vivid and the display is bright enough at 400 nits. It also has superb color accuracy, a high 2880 by 1800 resolution and a fast 120Hz refresh rate. So movement on screen looks smooth. This display has all the ingredients necessary to see a ton of information on screen without needing to squint. In my Excel test that quantifies this, you can see this laptop did very well. But there are two main downsides with this display that I just have to mention. Firstly, although OLED panels do look glorious with their vivid colors, unfortunately they all use PWM flickering to lower the brightness. That means it turns on and off the screen pixels very quickly to give the effect of a dimmer display. And that is the case here. But most OLED panels will only use PWM flickering with brightness below 100%. Unfortunately on this laptop, I was able to detect PWM flickering even at 100% brightness, which I've never seen before. So if you are sensitive to that sort of thing, you probably won't want to buy this laptop. That being said, it didn't bother me personally. And if you're wondering if the display has G-Sync, it doesn't. The G14 on the other hand does. The keyboard on this laptop I don't like. It feels mushy and noticeably low travel. Normally Lenovo makes excellent keyboards, but there is a big difference as you go down their range. The Slim Pro 9i's keyboard is phenomenally good. The Legion Slim 7's keyboard is very good, but this one is mediocre. When writing this review, I had more typing errors than when I used other keyboards, and after about 2 hours, my wrists hurt. The G14's keyboard is significantly more comfortable, but that laptop gets very warm to the touch, which this one doesn't, so pick your poison. The other thing I don't love about this keyboard is the placement of the page up and down keys. I hate when they're above the left and right arrow keys like they are on this laptop, as I frequently mispress them. But in all fairness, this laptop at least leaves a decent amount of space between those keys, unlike the MSI Stealth 14 Studio, where they are literally almost touching. For gamers, you might not find this to be an issue as your right hand is probably on the mouse. If you're left-handed though, it could be a problem. Also, it's an absolute crime that as a gaming laptop there isn't any pretty RGB. The trackpad is fine, it's good enough, but nothing special. It works, it's accurate. There is excellent port selection on this laptop. You have two USB-C ports that are 10 gigabit, one of which supports high-powered 140 watt USB-C chargers. You have two USB-A ports and an HDMI 2.1 port and a full-sized SD card reader. But neither USB-C ports support the latest fast USB 4 speeds, and the SD card reader is also slow. The sound quality is decent enough and the volume is acceptable. If you find the stock sound flat and uninspiring, try some of the Nahimic settings. I found it gave the sound more presence and a more immersive soundstage. Before you think the sound on this laptop is decent though, if you compare the sound to one of Lenovo's Slim Pro 9i's or even a MacBook Pro 14, you will definitely notice a monstrous difference. Those laptops have bass, which this one doesn't, they get louder, and their sound reproduction is clearer and more precise. And lastly, upgradability. The SSD is upgradable, but the memory is soldered. However, you can buy a config with 32 gig of memory. Alright, so let's round out this review by talking about this laptop's overall value proposition and who should buy it. At the time of filming this review, it had an MSRP of a little under $1,500 US, but I immediately saw it on sale for a couple of $100 less. Lenovo frequently puts their laptops on massive sales, so I would expect most people to buy it around $1,300 or less. Its main competitor is the Asus G14, which was the gaming laptop to score highest in my best 14-inch laptop video, as I said. That laptop is priced around the same, slightly higher at an MSRP of $1,600 US, but it also regularly goes on sale. At the time of this review, it was on sale for $1,200 for a 512 gig of storage model. So let's wrap. I walked into this review thinking that this laptop would blow away the competition. I thought it would end up beating the G14 in overall value. And for those wanting to use it for other productivity tasks like coding or content creation, I thought its OLED display and much lower price would render laptops like the Slim Pro 9i and even the MacBook Pro 14 no longer relevant. But after spending significant time with this laptop, it's just not that. Instead, as a whole, it offers a little less than the G14 for a similar price. In several ways, it is better than that laptop. Mainly it feels significantly cooler to the touch in all use cases. But in more ways, it is worse. Its keyboard is substantially less comfortable, it doesn't have fast ports, its build quality isn't the best, it can't be had with more powerful graphics, and its memory is completely soldered. So, picking between these two comes down to personal preference and sale price at the time you buy. Just because I like to be super thorough, I ended up adding this laptop to my scoring sheet that I used in that prior video. It's about in the middle of the pack and well behind the G14. However, it is priced at the bottom, so that indicates very good value for money. Now, if you are looking at this laptop primarily for productivity work, it's a good value proposition. But Lenovo's top-of-the-line Slim Pro 9i or the MacBook Pro 14 are significantly better. Well, what did you think of Lenovo's new Legion Slim 514? Do you agree with my conclusions? Let me know with a comment below. Make sure to smash the like button and get subscribed. Not only will it help this channel grow, which means we can create more content for you, but as I always say, it makes my mother very proud. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.